We are coming together at a remarkable time in our nation's history. There's the pandemic that we call COVID-19, the uprising that has taken over our city's streets with unemployment at unprecedented levels and political paralysis.
For the last 2 years, Square One has been looking at this huge question of if we were to start over and respond to the problems of violence, poverty, racial inequity, and racism, would it look anything like the way we respond right now? The focus of this fourth roundtable is to examine the relationship between justice reform and the social contract in our country.
The social contract is the way we relate to each other. How do we think about our mutual responsibilities to each other?
It's not only what we are responsible for, but how the people who take care of us, whether it's government, agencies, organizations, how they are responsible to us.
The social contract doesn't really exist for people of color. We absolutely need to make it inclusive.
The social contract says that I am accountable to the society that I live in, to the extent that that society is also accountable to me. If you can't get housing, a job, or healthcare, your life chances are severely reduced. That means there is no contract between you and the society.
The project of democracy is to deliver human flourishing by delivering empowerment. If our political institutions can't deliver health and well-being for all, they're fundamentally broken.
Child poverty, relative poverty, poverty while in work, infant mortality, teenage birth rate, mental illness, ISIL non-completion, drug addiction, drug deaths. All of these are worse in the USA than they are elsewhere. Nearly all of these problems are worse in minority communities.
White supremacy evolves. We are seeing the impact of policies that have done so much harm to communities.
The built environment that we live in is a manifestation of bad policies. Like, we're going to house Black and brown people way far away from their community, and then we're not going to invest in their community.
3 of the poorest communities in America are here in Western South Dakota. They are mostly tribal communities. Nature was never allowed to take its course with our people. We never got to see what we were going to become.
Even in a pandemic, if you look a certain way, if you are of a certain race, COVID-19 is the least of your worries. It's literally about just being able to survive the day. This cannot be the way.
80% of the men that I work with have been victims of violence. Let's create spaces of healing. Let's find ways to prevent people from coming into the system to begin with.
The process begins in our educational institutions. In Texas, 40% of the children that are involved in our criminal justice system are there because of a school referral. Every standardized test, every behavior, every cultural nuance is based on what we think is normal. But normal in this country means what is white.
COVID-19 has laid bare anti-Blackness in the health system. As someone that practices in the hospitals and in clinics, it just never felt more dire and more urgent.
You cannot have a healthy society unless everyone is healthy, especially with a virus like COVID-19. That's going to cause some reimagining of what is health policy. We want people to be healthy, we have to keep people connected to their families. If we want people to be healthy, they need to have jobs that will allow them to be safe.
The COVID-19 pandemic deepens housing insecurity. We anticipate that there will be the filing of thousands and thousands of evictions. A significant proportion of these households will be rendered homeless. This is a national moment that demands transformative change.
There is a problem with equity, not a problem with supply. And where there is opportunity, we will find community. And where we find true community, we'll find public safety.
We thought this was going to be the roundtable on social policy. It became very much a conversation about democracy. Communities are trying to figure out how they can hold authorities accountable for the harm that they cause. It's the historic question of this moment.
There has to be real push of expanding our mind of who should be at the table and whose expertise really is expertise.
My father has an 8th grade education, but was incarcerated for many years. I, who did PhD work, didn't know half the stuff he knew from his life experience. Entire groups of people remain invisible.
I'm hoping that the awakening that happens mobilizes more and more people to engage in their local communities.
It's not just undoing. That's not our work. It is to imagine a new contract, a new way in its place, a society where people give us their best.
We can talk about changing these systems square one, but we're really talking about how to fundamentally change the way people think about one another.
Justice could be restorative, it could be transformative. We could think of people as human. We have to keep pushing along. I don't want my great-grandchildren to still talk about white supremacy and whiteness. There's a better way, and I know that we can get there.